The human ship Atlas Dawn moved quietly through deep space, its metal body glowing faintly against the dark stars. It was a joint military and diplomatic vessel, carrying humans and many alien species together. For Lieutenant Aaron Cole, this mission had already lasted 8 long months. He was tired, worn down by constant duty, alerts, and the pressure of serving alongside species that barely understood humans. That night, Aaron finally had something rare: privacy. He had just been reassigned to a small private room after weeks of shared quarters. The room was simple: one bed, one desk, a locker, a small screen built into the wall. To Aaron, it felt like a palace. He closed the door, leaned back against it, and let out a slow breath. "This is mine," he muttered softly. He removed his jacket, placed it neatly on the chair, and sat on the edge of the bed. The ship hummed gently, a sound he had learned to sleep to. For the first time in days, he felt calm. That calm lasted less than 2 minutes. The door slid open without a sound. Aaron froze. He turned his head slowly, expecting maybe a maintenance drone or an officer with the wrong room number. Instead, an alien female stepped inside. She was tall, graceful, and clearly not human. Her skin was a soft silver blue, faintly glowing under the room's lights. Her eyes were large and golden, filled with confidence rather than fear. She wore no armor, no uniform. She wore nothing at all. Aaron's brain stopped working. She looked around the room calmly, as if she owned it already. Then her eyes settled on the bed. A small smile formed on her lips, slow, deliberate, and sure. "This will do," she said in smooth, careful English. She walked past Aaron, sat down on the bed, and rested one long leg across the sheets. Then she looked at him directly. "I claim this bed," she said, "and I claim you as well." Aaron stood up so fast he nearly tripped. "W what?" he blurted out, his face burning. "You this is a restricted area. You can't just walk in here like that." The alien woman tilted her head, studying him. Instead of anger or embarrassment, she looked curious. "You are distressed," she observed. "That was not my intent." She stood completely unbothered and raised her hands slowly, palms open. "I am called Surya of the Kalari," she said. "I meant no threat." Aaron turned his back immediately, staring at the wall. "Please," he said quickly. "At least cover yourself. Humans, this isn't." Surya paused. Then she let out a soft sound, almost like a thoughtful hum. "So this is true," she said. "Your species finds the body shameful." "It's not shame," Aaron replied. "It's just different." There was a brief silence. Then he heard fabric shift. "You may turn," Surya said. Aaron turned slowly. She was now wrapped in a thin emergency blanket she had taken from the wall compartment. It barely covered her, but it was something. Her confident smile was gone, replaced by something quieter. "Better?" she asked. "Yes," Aaron said, exhaling. "Much better." They stood there awkwardly, two beings from different worlds, staring at each other in a room far too small for this kind of situation. "Now," Aaron said carefully, "why are you here?" Surya looked at the bed again, then back at him. "Because I have chosen you," she said. "That doesn't explain anything. In my culture," she continued, "to enter one's private rest space is to place oneself under their protection. To claim the bed is to declare trust." Aaron frowned. "Trust for what?" Her golden eyes dimmed slightly. "Survival." She sat down again, this time more carefully, pulling the blanket closer around her. "My people are not warriors," she said. "We are analysts, observers. We predict wars. We calculate losses." Aaron slowly sat in the chair across from her. "And you?" he asked. "I was correct," she said softly. He felt a chill. "Correct about what?" She met his gaze again, and this time her confidence cracked just a little. "My world will fall," she said. "It already has." Aaron said nothing. He had heard reports. Entire systems lost. Civilizations erased in quiet wars far from human space. "They hunt those who know too much," Surya continued. "I escaped because I hid among your people, because humans do not abandon the weak." Aaron shook his head. "You don't know that. I have watched you," she replied. Humans run toward danger when others flee. You stay behind so others can live. You are stubborn. Despite everything, Aaron let out a short laugh. That's one word for it. Surya leaned forward slightly. I chose you because you are not the strongest, she said. Aaron blinked. Excuse me. You are not the tallest, not the loudest, not the most feared, she said calmly. But you were the last to leave the evacuation deck during the Carcel incident. You carried an injured child that was not your own. Aaron swallowed. I saw you, she said. That is why I entered your room. The room felt smaller now. You could have asked, Aaron said quietly. In my culture, Surya replied, asking shows doubt. Before Aaron could respond, the ship's lights flickered. An alarm began to sound low and distant. Surya stiffened. They have found me, she said. Aaron was already moving, grabbing his jacket and tapping his wrist communicator. Lieutenant Cole to command, he said. We have an unregistered alien civilian in my quarters, possible hostile pursuit. The response came instantly. Understood, stay where you are. Surya looked at him, fear now clear on her face. If they take me, she said, many will die. Aaron met her gaze, steady and calm. Then they won't take you, he said. She searched his face as if trying to calculate the truth of his words. Slowly she nodded. That, she said softly, is why I chose you. Outside the room, boots thundered down the corridor. The galaxy was already moving, already testing the choice she had made. And Aaron Cole, a simple human officer, stood between an alien woman and the darkness hunting her, without fully realizing that this night, this strange claim over a single bed, was about to change the fate of more than just two lives. The corridor outside Aaron Cole's room filled with noise, boots striking metal, sharp voices, weapons powering on. The alarm lights painted everything in flashing red. What had started as a quiet, confusing night had turned into something far bigger. Aaron stood between the door and Surya without thinking. It was not bravery he felt, but habit. Humans were trained to place themselves between danger and others. His hand rested near his sidearm, though he had not drawn it yet. The door slid open. Two human security officers entered first, weapons lowered but ready. Behind them came a tall alien with dark armored skin and narrow eyes, Commander Threx of the Valdrin, the species currently overseeing security aboard the Atlas Dawn. Commander Threx stopped when he saw Surya. So, Threx said slowly, his voice cold. The Kelari analyst reveals herself. Surya pulled the blanket tighter around her shoulders but did not stand. Her chin lifted slightly, pride fighting fear. I have done nothing wrong, she said. You exist, Threx replied. That is enough. Aaron stepped forward. Commander, she came to me seeking protection. She's unarmed and cooperative. Threx's eyes shifted to Aaron. Lieutenant Cole, this matter is beyond human authority. With respect, Aaron said, keeping his voice steady, this is a joint vessel. She is a civilian. Threx let out a short, humorless sound. She is a strategic weapon. Her mind carries predictions capable of reshaping wars. Surya looked at Aaron then, her golden eyes searching his face. I told you, she said softly. Aaron nodded once. Commander, he said, if she's under threat, then taking her by force will only confirm that threat. The corridor was silent except for the distant alarm. Threx considered him for a long moment. Then he raised one clawed hand. She will be placed under temporary human custody, Threx said, until command decides her fate. Aaron felt his shoulders loosen slightly. But, Threx added, if she disappears, humanity will answer for it. That's fair, Aaron said. Threx turned and left, his guards following. The door slid shut. The room felt suddenly very quiet. Surya exhaled slowly, her posture finally relaxing. You did not hesitate. Aaron ran a hand through his hair. I didn't have time to. She stood and approached him carefully as if stepping into unknown ground. In my culture, she said, your actions have meaning. I'm starting to notice, Aaron replied. They were relocated within the hour. Instead of a private room, Surya was assigned to a secure observation suite, clean, simple, guarded by human personnel. Aaron was ordered to remain with her as liaison and escort. Command wanted answers, and Surya was willing to give them, but only through him. She sat at the small table in the suite while Aaron stood near the wall. A human intelligence officer asked questions through the glass partition. "Why did you choose Lieutenant Cole specifically?" the officer asked. Surya looked at Aaron before answering. "Because humans do not calculate worth by survival probability alone," she said. "You value intention," the officer frowned. "Explain." "My people choose protectors based on strength," Surya said. "I chose him based on refusal." "Refusal?" the officer echoed. "Yes," she said. "He refused to leave others behind when logic told him to." The officer ended the interview soon after. When they were alone again, Aaron finally sat across from her. "You really watch me that closely?" he asked. Surya nodded. "For months." "That's unsettling." "In my culture," she said gently, "attention is respect." Aaron sighed. "We're very different." "Yes," she agreed. "That is why you survive." The days that followed were tense. Rumors spread fast aboard the ship. Some aliens avoided the human sections. Others watched humans more closely, as if seeing them for the first time. The idea that a Kalari analyst, one of the most valuable minds in the galaxy, had chosen a human protector disturbed many long-held beliefs. Aaron felt the weight of it everywhere he went. Surya noticed. "You carry pressure like armor," she said one evening as they walked the corridor under guard. "Comes with the job. You do not complain. Complaining doesn't fix things." She stopped walking and looked at him. "That," she said, "is another human flaw." He raised an eyebrow. "Flaw? Yes," she replied calmly. "You endure silently. It saves others, but it damages you." Aaron didn't answer. That night the attack came. The Atlas Dawn shuddered violently as explosions rocked the hull. Emergency lights flashed. The ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel, alarms screaming through every deck. Aaron was thrown against the wall, catching himself just in time. "Hostile boarding detected," the ship's voice announced. "Multiple breaches." Surya's eyes widened. "They came sooner than predicted." "Who?" Aaron asked, already moving. "The Korth Syndicate," she said. "They want my knowledge." The corridor filled with smoke as distant gunfire echoed. Aaron drew his sidearm and took position near Surya. "Stay behind me," he ordered. She did not argue. They moved through the ship together as chaos erupted around them. Humans formed defensive lines, holding corridors while civilians were evacuated. Aaron shouted orders when officers fell, stepping into leadership without waiting for permission. Surya watched him closely, even as fear pressed in. A blast door slammed shut just as enemy forces appeared at the far end of the corridor. Aaron fired, precise and controlled, covering the retreat of a group of injured crew. When the fighting paused, Surya touched his arm lightly. "You are afraid," she said. "Yes," Aaron admitted. "You act anyway. That's kind of our thing." The ship took heavy damage. Power failed on several decks. Communications were patchy at best. Command was scattered. In the central operations chamber, Aaron found himself facing a choice. Command wanted to evacuate and abandon the ship. Surya knew something they didn't. "If you leave," she told him quietly, "the Syndicate will recover what they need from the wreckage." Aaron looked around the room, at the wounded, the frightened, the exhausted. "We don't leave people behind," he said. Surya closed her eyes briefly. "I will help you," she said, "but it will cost me." "What do you mean?" "I will reveal my predictions," she said, "to everyone." Aaron understood instantly. Knowledge like hers could not be taken back. "You don't owe us that," he said. She opened her eyes and met his gaze. "I chose your bed," she said. "I chose your protection. That choice binds me." With her guidance, the humans reorganized their defense. They rerouted power, set traps, and predicted enemy movements before they happened. The Syndicate attackers walked into ambush after ambush, unprepared for human adaptability combined with alien foresight. Hours later, the last hostile signal vanished from the ship. The Atlas Dawn was battered but alive. In the quiet aftermath, Aaron sat alone in the observation suite. His hands trembled now that the danger had passed. Surya sat beside him, closer than before but not touching. "You saved many," she said. "We all did," he replied. She shook her head slightly. "No, you chose to stand when others would have fled." She hesitated, then spoke more softly. "My people believed safety came from calculation alone," she said. "Tonight I learned something new." "What's that?" "That courage cannot be predicted," she said. "Only chosen." Outside the viewport, stars drifted slowly past. The galaxy was already changing, even if no one yet realized it. And in the quiet space between two very different beings, a bond formed, not of ownership, not of desire, but of trust earned in fire and fear. The bed she had claimed was no longer the most important thing. The choice she had made was. The Atlas Dawn drifted through damaged space lanes, moving slowly toward the nearest human-controlled repair station. Large sections of the ship were sealed off. Burn marks covered the walls. Some corridors were dark and silent, others full of tired voices and wounded crew. The attack had ended, but its shadow remained. Lieutenant Aaron Cole had not slept in almost 2 days. He stood on an observation deck, staring out at the stars. His uniform was torn at the shoulder, stained with soot and dried blood, not all of it his. His face looked older than it had a week ago. Behind him, soft footsteps approached. "You are still awake," Surya said. Aaron didn't turn. "Someone has to be." She came to stand beside him, keeping a respectful distance. She now wore a simple human-style uniform modified for her body. The change had been her idea. "Humans feel safer when I resemble them," she had said. Aaron finally looked at her. "You don't have to change for us." "I choose to," she replied. "Choice matters to humans." That was true. For several seconds they watched the stars in silence. "You revealed too much," Aaron said quietly. Surya nodded. "I know. You'll never be able to take it back." "No," she agreed. "But neither can you undo what you did." He frowned. "What do you mean?" "You defied joint command," she said calmly. "You led without permission. You chose lives over protocol." Aaron exhaled slowly. "That's going to cost me." "Yes," Surya said. "That is why I stayed." Before Aaron could respond, his communicator buzzed. "Lieutenant Cole," a voice said, "Command Council summons you. Immediately." The council chamber was filled with tension. Human officers sat on one side. Alien representatives filled the other. The air felt heavy, thick with unspoken judgment. At the center stood a circular platform. Aaron stood alone on it. Surya waited outside the chamber. "Lieutenant Cole," Commander Hayes began, "you acted against evacuation orders." "Yes, sir." "You placed a non-human civilian above mission safety. I protected a civilian under threat. You allowed classified alien intelligence to be shared openly." Aaron lifted his chin. "With her consent." A murmur spread across the chamber. Commander Threx leaned forward, his dark eyes sharp. "Your actions saved the ship. That is not in question." "Then what is?" Aaron asked. "Precedent," Threx replied. "Aliens now look to humans for leadership. That was not agreed upon." Aaron said nothing. After a long pause, Commander Hayes spoke again. "You are relieved of active command," he said. "Pending review." Aaron nodded once. "Understood. You may go." Aaron turned and left the chamber without another word. Outside, Surya was waiting. She studied his face immediately. "They punished you." "Not yet," he said, "but it's coming." "This is because of me," she said. "No," Aaron replied firmly. "This is because of who we are." They walked together through a quiet corridor. "Humans frighten the galaxy," Surya said softly. "That's not what we want." "I know," she said. "That is why it frightens them more." In the days that followed, strange things began to happen. Alien crew members began requesting human mediation for disputes. Human patrol routes were quietly expanded. Human engineers were invited to inspect alien systems. Not because they were ordered to, because they were trusted. Surya noticed the shift before anyone else. The balance is changing, she told Aaron one evening. He was sitting in the medical bay having his shoulder rewrapped. Change is messy, he said. Yes, she agreed. But it is also dangerous. Her prediction came true sooner than expected. At the edge of the repair system, a coalition fleet appeared, ships from several alien powers, including the Valdran and others less friendly to humans. They demanded Surya. She destabilizes the order, their message said. Surrender her and there will be peace. The human command refused, but not all species agreed. Inside the station, tensions rose. Fights broke out. Systems failed mysteriously. Someone wanted Surya taken quietly. Aaron was assigned to escort her to a secure holding area. Halfway there, the lights went out. Blaster fire erupted from the darkness. Aaron reacted instantly, pushing Surya behind cover. He fired back, hitting shapes he could barely see. When the lights flickered on, 3 bodies lay on the floor, alien mercenaries. Surya stared at them, shaken. They were not syndicate, she said. They were hired. By who? She hesitated. By those who fear humans learning the truth. More alarms sounded. Security forces closed in, but not all of them were friendly. They will keep coming, Surya said urgently, until I am gone. Aaron shook his head. We'll move you again. There is nowhere left, she said. Unless, she stopped. Unless what? Unless I speak, she said. To who? To everyone. Hours later, an emergency broadcast echoed across the station and nearby fleets. Surya stood beside Aaron in a transmission chamber. Her voice was calm, clear, and carried across stars. I am Surya of the Kelari, she said. I was hunted because I see patterns others ignore. Images appeared, wars started by fear, alliances broken by lies, empires collapsing not from weakness but from refusal to adapt. And now, she continued, I see something new. The image shifted. Humans rescuing standing ground, refusing to abandon allies. Humanity is not rising through conquest, Surya said. They rise through responsibility. Murmurs spread across channels. They do not seek control, she went on. They accept burden. When the broadcast ended, silence followed. Then the first alien ship powered down its weapons. Then another. Not all agreed, but enough did. The coalition fractured. The demand for surrender was withdrawn. Afterward, Aaron felt empty. You gave them everything, he said. Surya shook her head. No, I gave them the truth. What happens to you now? She looked at him. I am no longer only Kelari, she said. I am marked. Marked how? As one who chose humans, she replied. That cannot be undone. Aaron looked away. You'll never be safe. Safety, she said gently, was never the goal. They stood together as the station slowly returned to order. Across the galaxy, discussions began. Plans shifted. Long-held beliefs cracked. And at the center of it all stood one simple truth that could no longer be ignored. Humans did not conquer space. They stayed. They protected. They endured. And now the galaxy was beginning to understand what that truly meant. The Atlas Dawn docked at the neutral station, its hull still bearing the scars of the recent battles. Smoke lingered faintly in the corridors, and the ship's systems were running at half capacity. Human engineers moved quickly, checking every panel, rerouting power, and making sure the wounded had what they needed. Aaron Cole walked through the dim corridor toward the observation deck, where Surya had been confined for most of the last week. She had been busy communicating with representatives of multiple alien species, carefully explaining her choices, her knowledge, and the reasons she had placed herself under human protection. When he arrived, he found her standing by the viewport, looking at the nearby stars. She did not turn immediately when he approached. They called for another meeting, Aaron said. Surya finally looked at him, her golden eyes calm but sharp. I know. Do you trust them? He asked. She shook her head slowly. Some will act out of fear. Some will act out of respect. It is difficult to predict. Aaron nodded. Then we keep going, step by step. Over the next several days, the ship became a hub of diplomacy. Alien representatives arrived, each seeking Surya's insight, each testing the human's ability to protect her. Aaron found himself acting as her protector, translator, and sometimes negotiator. Every step was dangerous, but the human crew rose to the challenge. One evening, after a long day of discussions, Aaron found Surya alone in the observation deck again. "You did not rest," she said. "I do not sleep well while the galaxy is unsettled," he replied. "Besides, someone has to make sure no one sneaks in." Surya approached the small table near the window and leaned on it lightly. "You are very different from what my people expected." "How so?" "You carry weight, yet you smile. You take responsibility, yet you allow others to grow. You are not perfect, yet you are brave." Aaron laughed quietly. "I'm not sure bravery is the right word, I just do what I think is right." "Exactly," Surya said, her smile softening. "That is why I chose you." The two stood together, looking out at the stars. The hum of the ship beneath them was steady, almost comforting, but the tension of the past days lingered. Suddenly, the ship's communications console beeped. A new fleet had entered the neutral sector, ships from several alien powers, not all friendly. Their intentions were unclear, but the presence of multiple fleets meant danger was possible. Aaron stepped forward, moving to the console. "They're asking for Surya." Surya looked at him steadily. "Then they do not understand the human way." "They will learn soon enough," Aaron said. He sent a calm, concise message to the station's central command. "Humans are responsible for her protection. Any attempt to take her without permission will be met with full resistance." Within hours, representatives arrived at the station, their ships hovering just outside. Inside, alien envoys demanded a council meeting with Surya present. She agreed, but only under Aaron's supervision. During the meeting, Surya stood tall, explaining herself with calm authority. She did not beg or plead. Instead, she described her observations of human resilience, human strategy, and human compassion. Her words carried weight because they were honest, precise, and insightful. "The humans do not act from fear," she told the assembly. "They act from commitment, from endurance, from responsibility. To stand with them is to stand for the future of many species." Her words drew attention. Murmurs spread through the council chamber. Some envoys nodded. Others frowned, still unsure. But a change had begun. Aaron watched her carefully. He had seen many skilled leaders, but Surya's combination of insight, courage, and composure was extraordinary. Even without weapons or armies, she could command attention and respect. When the meeting ended, the council decided to acknowledge the human claim of protection over Surya. While not all were pleased, they recognized the practical truth. Her safety depended on the humans, and specifically on Aaron. That night, Aaron escorted Surya back to her observation quarters. She paused before entering, looking at him. "You carried more than a bed," she said softly. "You carried trust, courage, and human will. The galaxy has begun to see it." Aaron shrugged lightly. "I did what anyone would do." "No," she said firmly. "Not anyone. You are human." As the days passed, humans were quietly gaining influence. Alien crews began to look to them for decisions, to rely on them for protection, and to respect their judgment. The story of Surya's choice spread beyond the station, through fleets, colonies, and even enemy factions. It became clear, humans were not only survivors but leaders, allies, and protectors. One afternoon, as Aaron and Surya walked through the station's gardens, Surya paused near a small fountain. "I understand now why humans endure," she said. "It is not strength alone that matters, but the willingness to act for others." Aaron smiled faintly. "You sound almost like a human philosopher." Surya laughed softly, a sound like distant bells. "Perhaps I am learning." Suddenly, a warning klaxon sounded. Outside, unidentified ships approached the station at high speed. The council scrambled to respond. Aaron instinctively positioned himself near Surya. "They are not friendly," she said calmly. "Then we act," Aaron replied. "No one touches you while I am here." The next several hours were chaotic. Humans coordinated defenses with precision, while Surya provided predictions that guided strategic decisions. The attacking ships attempted to breach the station, but were repelled repeatedly, caught in traps and careful maneuvers. After the threat was neutralized, the Council officially recognized the human-led defense as a turning point. Surya's claim, once a cultural oddity, had become a symbol of cooperation and human capability. Aaron found her later on the observation deck. She looked tired, but there was satisfaction in her eyes. "You see," she said, "humans act. They do not wait for others to decide." "And you," Aaron said, "you've proven that one choice can change everything." Surya smiled, placing a hand lightly on the table between them. "Yes. One choice, one trust, one human who acted when it mattered." The galaxy was shifting. Alliances were forming in unexpected ways. Old prejudices began to crumble. The humans of the Atlas Dawn, led by Aaron Cole, had demonstrated a truth that could not be ignored. Courage, responsibility, and willingness to act for others were more powerful than fear, dominance, or calculation alone. And at the center of it all, the bond between a human and an alien who had walked into his room and claimed his bed became a symbol of a new era, one where humans were no longer just participants in galactic events, but protectors, leaders, and catalysts for change. In the quiet of the observation deck, Aaron looked at Surya. "We did it," he said. "No," she replied, "you did it. I only chose the right person." He shook his head. "We did it together." She considered his words, then nodded. "Together." Outside, the stars stretched endlessly, indifferent to battles, politics, and alliances. But in that moment, in that quiet space aboard a damaged station, two very different beings had changed the course of more than just a ship. They had begun to reshape the galaxy itself. The bed that had started it all was no longer a bed. It was a symbol of trust, choice, courage, and the quiet, enduring power of humanity. And for Aaron Cole, that was more than enough. The galaxy seemed quieter now, though Aaron knew it was only temporary. Ships moved silently in the distance, fleets reorganized, and news of the events aboard the Atlas Dawn spread slowly through networks and channels. Humans were gaining a reputation, not through domination, but through courage, endurance, and trust. Aaron stood on the observation deck, staring at the stars. The scars on the ship were healing, systems repaired, and most of the wounded had returned to duty. Yet the memory of the attack, of the fear, and of the choices made lingered in him. Surya stepped beside him. She no longer carried the tension she had when she first arrived. The calm confidence she had displayed from the start now blended with respect, understanding, and a quiet admiration for the human who had protected her. "You have changed things," she said. "Not only for your ship, but for your species." Aaron shook his head. "I didn't do it alone," she smiled faintly. "No, but you acted when others hesitated. That is why I chose you." He looked at her seriously. "You made your choice too, that counts." They stood in silence for a few moments, the hum of the ship beneath them a steady reminder of life continuing despite chaos. Outside, messages came in from across the galaxy. The news of the human-led defense and Surya's choice had inspired fleets, colonies, and even political powers to reconsider their approach to humanity. Some factions, once distrustful, were reaching out for alliances. Others had begun to see the humans not as fragile, impulsive beings, but as quiet guardians capable of remarkable leadership. A soft chime sounded from the nearby console. Aaron glanced at it and saw a message from the station's council. They requested both him and Surya to attend a formal assembly to honor their actions and discuss future collaboration. "You'll face another room full of eyes," Surya said. "Many will expect fear, weakness, or apology." Aaron smirked. "Then I'll give them none of that." Together, they entered the assembly chamber. The room was vast, with representatives from multiple species seated in organized sections. Conversations hushed when Aaron and Surya stepped to the front. The chairperson, a stern alien from a species known for their rigid diplomacy, spoke first. We recognize that recent events have revealed truths about human resilience and strategy that cannot be ignored. Murmurs spread through the assembly. Aaron remained calm. Beside him, Surya's golden eyes scanned the room, calm but precise. She stepped forward, addressing the delegates. "I am Surya of the Kalari," she began. "I came into human space seeking safety. I did not expect to find leadership, courage, or trust of this scale." She paused, letting her words sink in. Humans act not for dominance, not for power, but because they value others. They endure when logic predicts failure, and they protect when survival is uncertain. Lieutenant Aaron Cole exemplifies this. He chose action over hesitation, trust over fear, and responsibility over protocol. His actions saved countless lives, both human and alien. The assembly was quiet now. Eyes that had once judged humans skeptically now studied them with new interest, some with awe. Aaron stepped forward. "I am not a hero," he said plainly. "I did what any human would do, but what Surya has done is extraordinary. She chose trust when survival was uncertain. She believed in humanity at a time when few others would. That choice inspired all of us." Surya met his gaze, and for a brief moment the assembly saw a bond that transcended species, rank, and culture. One of the delegates, an elder alien with wings folded neatly behind him, finally spoke. "Perhaps it is time for a new understanding," he said slowly. "One that recognizes that courage, trust, and unity can shape the galaxy as power alone cannot." Others nodded. Whispered conversations spread. By the end of the meeting, a new consensus emerged. Humans were not just participants, they were protectors and catalysts. They had earned respect not by conquest, but by their unwavering will and moral strength. After the assembly, Aaron and Surya returned to the observation deck. The sun of the nearby star painted golden streaks across the room. For a moment, neither spoke. They simply looked out at the stars, reflecting on the events that had brought them here. "You know," Aaron said finally, "I never imagined that a simple choice, a bed, a decision to help, a refusal to leave, could change so much." Surya smiled. "It is not the bed. It is the trust behind it, the belief that someone will act when it matters most." Aaron nodded. "And sometimes that is all it takes." Days turned into weeks. The Atlas Dawn continued its patrols, but with a new purpose. Humans were no longer simply observers or participants. They were leaders in subtle, powerful ways. Surya traveled alongside them, helping bridge communication between species and offering insight into potential threats and alliances. Through it all, the bond between Aaron and Surya remained strong. Not romantic in the way some might expect, but built on respect, trust, and a shared understanding forged in fire and crisis. The bed she had claimed that night became a quiet symbol in Aaron's mind, not of possession, but of choice, courage, and partnership. One evening, as they rested in the same room that had begun it all, Surya looked around. "Everything has changed," she said. "And yet some things remain the same." Aaron leaned back against the wall. "Like what?" "The human way," she replied. "You endure, you act, and you protect. That will not change." Aaron smiled faintly. "I hope it doesn't." She stepped closer, resting a hand lightly on the edge of the bed. "Then you will continue to shape the galaxy, not through weapons, not through power, but through the quiet strength that others often underestimate." Aaron looked at her, understanding the truth in her words. Humanity was not the fastest, the strongest, or the most technologically advanced in the galaxy, but they endured. They adapted. They chose responsibility when it was easiest to flee, and through those choices they could influence entire civilizations. The stars outside seemed endless, yet Aaron no longer felt small. He had witnessed fear, chaos, and doubt, but also courage, trust, and hope. And he knew that humans, when they acted with purpose and heart, could achieve anything. Surya smiled again, the soft glow of her skin reflecting the starlight. I am honored to stand with you, Lieutenant Cole, and I am proud of the choice I made. Aaron nodded. And I am honored to protect you, not because I have to, but because it matters. They stood together in silence for a moment, looking out at the galaxy that had tested them, threatened them, and ultimately changed because of them. The bed that had caused confusion, embarrassment, and doubt now symbolized more than just comfort. It was trust, choice, and courage. It reminded them both that even the simplest decisions could ripple across the stars, shaping futures and redefining what it meant to protect, endure, and lead. The galaxy had seen humanity's strength. It had seen what could happen when one human refused to turn away from responsibility, when one alien chose to trust. And through that, an unspoken promise had formed, that the humans of the Atlas Dawn would continue to act, endure, and protect, not for glory, but because it was right. Aaron finally leaned against the bed and exhaled. Surya sat across from him, calm and composed, yet full of energy and purpose. For a moment, neither spoke. The weight of recent events settled around them, but not as a burden. It was a quiet acknowledgement of achievement, of trust, and of the road ahead. Aaron looked at her and then at the stars beyond. Whatever comes next, he said, we face it together, Surya nodded. Together. Outside, the stars stretched endlessly, indifferent to battles, politics, or alliances. But aboard the Atlas Dawn, and in that quiet room, two very different beings had proven a universal truth. Courage, trust, and responsibility were the greatest power in the galaxy. And humanity, simple, resilient, enduring humanity, had shown the galaxy exactly why it could never be ignored. The bed, once the scene of confusion, had become a symbol of unity, choice, and the quiet yet unstoppable force of human will. And from that night onward, the galaxy would remember to act when it matters most, to protect without hesitation, and to endure against all odds. That was what made humans truly extraordinary. Aaron finally closed his eyes, letting himself rest. Surya remained seated beside him, watching over him silently. And for the first time in a long while, the human officer felt peace, not because the galaxy was safe, but because he had stood, acted, and endured. And the galaxy had changed because of it. Together, human and alien, they would continue shaping the future. Together, they would endure. Together, they would protect. And humanity, as always, would rise.